and welcome. Of the many trade agreements that exist among African countries, the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTA, is one that is considered the most comprehensive and all-inclusive, as it is agreed by the 54 of the 55 countries on the African continent. The affirmation to more vigorously pursue its actualization by Nigerian Shippers Council and the Union of African Shippers Councils will be the focus of today's program. Our tidbit segment retains its place of pride with Maria Yowokule after the main menu. Please grab a drink, get comfortable as we go on a short break. We shall be right back.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
Welcome back. You are watching The Shipper, your indispensable plug for current, accurate and concise information about the nation's maritime sector, proudly brought to you by Nigerian Shippers Council, the nation's port economic regulator. I am Victoria Yavala. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTA, is a trade pact between 54 of the 55 African Union member nations to create a single market for goods and services across the continent. Its main purpose is to boost economic integration, foster growth, and promote intra-African trade by eliminating tariffs on 90% of goods and facilitating the free movement of business travelers, capital, and investments. Thus, any gathering to discuss its actualization is apt and attention-worthy. Let's now join Lucy Yambi as she presents the full story as compiled by our correspondent.
African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTA, is a free trade area encompassing most of Africa. It was established in 2018 through the instrumentality of African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which has 43 parties and another 11 signatories, making it the largest free trade area by number of member states after the World Trade Organization and the largest in population and geographic size, capturing 1.3 billion people across the world's second largest continent. At the sub-regional seminar and meeting of Standing Committee Number 1 on Trade and Transportation of the Union of African Shippers Council, themed the readiness of countries of West and Central Africa in the implementation of the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, the role of Shippers Councils, hosted by Nigerian Shippers Council in Lagos. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, His Excellency Adegboyega Oyetola CON, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Olufemi Oloruntola, sought combined collaboration from member nations of the Union of African Shippers Councils to right the many wrongs which weaken trade competitiveness in the region. He highlighted the fact that AfTA's transformative potential is based on population and combined gross domestic product.
Our goal must be to establish mutually beneficial frameworks that safeguard shippers' interests while ensuring the sustainability of shipping services. The federal government of Nigeria continues to invest in critical transport infrastructure to support trade facilitation, from railway modernization and road corridor expansion to the development of deep-sea ports and inland dry ports. These projects are part of our national strategy to enhance logistic performance and support intra-African trade. Equally significant is Nigeria's commitment to implementing the World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement, which complements AfTA's objective by simplifying custom procedures and reducing cross-border trade costs. Distinguished delegates, achieving the full potentials of AfTA requires strong partnership among member states, the private sector, regional organizations, and development partners such as UNCTAD, Global Shippers Forum, whose continued technical support to our organization and its members' institutions remains invaluable. Let us use this forum to strengthen collaboration, share best practices, and develop harmonized policies that promote efficient, secure, competitive shipping and trade systems across our sub-region.
Dr. Pius Akuta MON, the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Shippers Council, in his welcome address, called for stronger regional collaboration in readiness for full implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. He went further by outlining efforts being made by Nigerian Shippers Council to ensure the successful implementation of both continental and global trade agreements.
African Free Continental Trade Area represents one of the most ambitious initiatives ever undertaken by the African Union, creating a single market of over 1.4 billion people in a combined GDP exceeding $3 trillion. This is where the Shippers Councils have a critical role to play. Across our sub-region, we are expected to serve not only as advocates for shippers, but also as regulators, ensuring fair competition, transparent freight practices, and efficient movement of goods across borders. For us in Nigeria, the Nigerian Shippers Council, as a port economic regulator, continues to implement policies aimed at improving port efficiency, promoting multimodal transport, and facilitating the development of inland dry ports and logistic hubs. These efforts are designed to strengthen our readiness for the effective implementation of AFTA and the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. We are equally concerned about the recent issue of peak season surcharges and other arbitrary charges imposed by shipping lines. These surcharges have serious implications for trade competitiveness in West and Central Africa. I believe that through constructive engagement at this forum, we can develop a unified regional position that promotes fairness, transparency, and sustainability of shipping practices.
The Secretary General, Union of African Shippers Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Abba Kafugu, explained the importance of the organization's standing committees number 1 and 2 as drivers of the union's mandate. He commended both the Nigerian government and Nigerian Shippers Council for their show of leadership.
Over the next 2 days, you will examine issues related to, among others, exploiting opportunities of the African Continental Free Trade Area for benefit of the shippers, the proper use of Incoterms 2020, reducing cost and delivery times for goods in the context of trade facilitation, setting up reliable IT tools for shippers through unified platforms, border post information centers, the accession of new members to strengthen the Union of African Shippers Councils. I sincerely hope that the experts will conduct in-depth reflections leading to concrete recommendations to be submitted soon for adoption by the steering committee.
Mrs. Olufumilayo Folorunsho, Secretary, African Ship Owners Association, laid emphasis on Shippers Council engaging African-flagged vessels and the proper implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
AFCFTA is what we need now. Shippers Council, I have written here, you are engaging shipping lines. Which shipping line? Maersk, etc. Are you engaging the African flagged vessels? Are we developing AFCFTA for foreign flagged vessels or for African flagged vessels? Distinguished audience, if you say to me today, I don't own a ship this morning, I just facilitate for all of them. But if you said to me this morning that AFCFTA within Africa is reserved, the trade within Africa is reserved for African flag vessels, Before the end of the year, we will register more vessels on Nigeria flag, on Sao Tome, wherever. But we are not addressing that. Who would give you the best freight rates?
Africa's reliance on external markets make it vulnerable. This was the assertion of Alhaji Jamie Goma, acting national president, National Shippers Association of Nigeria. With this realization, he added the need to aggressively boost trade within the continent with the proper implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area as a critical factor to achieving this.
Today, on behalf of Nigerian shipping community, I extend our warmest goodwill and solidarity to this vital gathering. We must begin by offering the profound recommendation of the Nigerian Shippers Council, NSC, and the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy for hosting this sub-regional seminar and your commitments to a trade facilitation under the challenging day. This readiness of this country, West and Central Africa, in the implementation of this agreement, established the African Continental Free Trade Area. The rule of the Shippers Council affirmed the Nigerian leadership rule in the fostering regional economic and integrations. So we cannot even overemphasize and thank the leadership of Nigerian Shippers Council for recently realizations of over $10 million for Nigerian shippers.
Comptroller General Nigeria Customs Service Adewale Adeniyi, speaking through Apapa Area Command Controller, Comptroller Oluwadare Oshoba, said sustainable solutions need to be deployed to combat regional trade facilitation challenges.
Nigeria Customs Service is committed to the World Customs Organization and World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement on the movement of cargo and goods, and we seek appropriate pricing for freight, which affects the duty on these goods. So for us to have a good trade environment and affordable goods, there's need for us to have competitive freight rates. So we believe that this seminar at the end will produce something in that line to help facilitate trade and achieve sustainable goods and services.
In his goodwill message, the Managing Director, Nigerian Port Authority, Dr. Abubakar Dansoho, who was represented by the Principal Manager, Akin Liosu, noted that ports are the nodal points for international logistics, making their efficiency very critical for the success of AFTA.
NPA, through the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, is embarking on port modernization to enhance port efficiency, multimodalism, and as well as the establishment of deep sea ports like the Lekki deep sea port and other deep sea ports are coming on stream very soon. Also, NPA is embarking on the automation of port operations to reduce the turnaround time of vessels and improve the cargo dwell time in the ports. There's also the establishment of export processing terminals to ease the processes of export. NPA is doing this in conjunction with Nigerian Customs Services, and we have started seeing the results of this exercise.
Security being a key success factor for the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area was the contribution of Director General, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Dayo Mubirola, represented by the Director of Procurement, Mrs. Obianyo Nneka. He shared ongoing efforts of his agency towards enhanced efficiency.
The maritime component of AFTA will be defined by efficiency. And that is why the role of the Shippers Council as the economic regulator and bastion of cargo owner becomes indispensable. The Nigerian Shippers Council serves as the crucial fulcrum balancing the interests of service providers and the consumers of shipping services. Your role is simplifying processes, negotiating fair costs, and eliminating bottlenecks in central to making our countries competitive on this new continental stage. We are therefore committed as NIMASA to complement these efforts. Our push for digitalization and the automation of processes is aimed at creating a seamless, integrated maritime ecosystem. True readiness will be achieved when our digital systems can talk to each other, from NIMASA's vessel registry to MPA's port operations to customs clearance and the Nigerian shippers Council's trade facilitation platforms. A fully integrated port community system is not luxury, it is an urgent necessity for AFTA.
Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, the National Coordinator, African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Nigeria, represented by the senior trade expert at the Nigerian Coordination Office of African Continental Free Trade Area, Mr. Olusegun Olutayo, spoke on the economic report of this year, which stated the investment need of the continent for the actualization of the African Continental Free Trade Area. He explained steps being taken by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS.
The countries of the West and Central Africa are at different levels. So we need to minimize our expectations, regardless of the ambitions that we may have. Secondly, while some countries have established institutional implementation framework, others are undertaking institutional and strategic preparedness. To that effect, as of 2024, 42 state parties and 3 RECs have developed implementation strategies. ECOWAS is one of those REC. The Economy Report on Africa 2025 reports that Africa requires 120.83 billion investment in transport equipment by 2030 to support AFCFTA, streamline regulation, strategic trade facilitation, measures to maximize the benefit of AFCFTA. Furthermore, intra-African export is dominated by manufactured goods that stood at 46%. Share indicate huge potential for value addition and less for primary commodity. Amidst these strategies, Shippers Council have a critical role to play in connecting state parties and increasing intra-African trade.
Dr. Eugene Nweke, Head of Research and Policy Advisory of a prominent research organization, who is also a freight forwarder, lamented the lack of basic structures to compete favorably globally. His presentation further stressed the need for government to look beyond quick gains by focusing on value-added tax and digital economy levies.
All of us believe, as African, as Nigeria, that AFCTA embodies our shared aspiration for integration and prosperity. But instead, I want to submit this to you, sir. With utmost candor, the readiness must not precede liberalization. The strength of our trade integration will not rest on protocol signed by this community, but see, productivity, food security, and logistics sovereignty of all the member states should be a priority. Shippers councils across board to please start redefining your roles. You're not just passive trade facilitators. You should be a proactive defenders of regional competitiveness, value chain equity, maritime efficiency. The port is not just a gateway, it is a mirror of national capacity.
The importance of this seminar's theme is such that we have broken it into 2 parts. We will have to take a break here to accommodate our tidbit segments. Over to you, Maria.
Hello and welcome to the tidbit segment on The Shipper. I'm Maria Uekuli, bringing you fresh news, key updates, and key stories shaping the maritime industry. Let's dive right in. The federal government's resolve to make Nigeria a maritime hub received further boosts following the official handover of certificate of occupancy for 90 hectares of land by the Oyo State government for Moniya Inland Dry Port Development. The Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, CON, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, Olufemi Oloruntola, while receiving the documents from the Oyo State Deputy Governor, Abdulrahim Lawal, on behalf of the federal government, described the gesture as a clear demonstration of partnership and shared vision between the federal and the state government to expand economic opportunities through trade. Olufemi extolled the state government's patriotic support towards attaining ideals of the federal government's renewed hope agenda. In his remarks, the Oyo State Deputy Governor, Lawal Abdulrahim, appreciated the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy and the Nigerian Shippers Council for their resolve to develop vital transport infrastructure across the country and reiterated the state's unwavering commitment to the project. Addressing the gathering, the ESCEO Nigerian Shippers Council, Dr. Pius Akuta MON, who was represented by the Director Inland Transport Services, Amadou Gata, appreciated the Oyo State government's decision to partner with the federal government in the development of the inland dry ports. He emphasized the critical role of the project in national commerce, noting that dry ports remain an integral part of modern trade facilitation. The highlight of the occasion was the presentation of the certificate of occupancy for 90 hectares of land, followed by a brief joint inspection of the proposed project sites by a combined team of officials from the Oyo State government, the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, and Nigerian Shippers Council. We encourage you to follow our social media pages at NG Shippers on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube for more of our latest updates, events, and information. Let's take a look at our complaints register for the week. Nigerian Shippers Council has received 5 complaints. 3 have been resolved, while 2 are still ongoing. These cases include demurrage disputes, release of containers, dispute on misrouting, detained container, and missing container. Now, let's switch our focus to our international maritime news. The world's largest container carrier, MSC Shipping Company, has confirmed plans to reflag a number of its vessels under the Indian registry, joining CMA CGM and Maersk in supporting India's push to boost domestically flagged shipping. MSC CEO Soren Tufts made the commitment to Prime Minister Narendra Modi during India Maritime Week 2025, noting that India remains a key market for the company's shipping ports and logistics operation. As part of the discussions, we confirmed our commitment to deploy 12 vessels under the Indian flag, strengthening our long-term partnership with India's maritime ambitions, Tufts said. According to Earth Infra, MSC will begin with 2 vessels each in the 3,000 to 5,000 TEU range, to be transferred within days, with others to follow gradually. The company is also establishing an Indian subsidiary for the flagged ships. India's government has introduced new incentives to expand its maritime capacity, including financial support for shipbuilding and stricter cabotage rules, favoring Indian flagged ships. The Indian registry, previously with few container ships, is expanding rapidly, with MSC expected to become the 3rd largest private ship owner in the country. We've come to the end of this week's edition of Tidbits on the Shipper. Be sure to join us again next week as we continue to bring you the latest happenings across the maritime landscape.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
We once more arrive at that familiar port where we drop anchor on today's journey. Where does time go? Thus, let's make it a date. Also, feel free to connect with us at NG Shippers to share your thoughts and suggestions. Do have a swimmingly great week ahead.